Today we have my buddy's overland Jeep here, and he has asked me to Plasti Dip his wheels for him. So I thought I'd make a video about it, show you the do's and don'ts and how to do it properly. Personally, I've been Plasti Dipping for a very long time now. I've been a big fan of the product since it came out. For the cost to benefit, you can't beat it. And then yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys how I do it, and we'll take you along for the journey. We're going to do satin black, which is actually what I had on my Tacoma, or have on my Tacoma. And on top of Plasti Dipping the rims, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but we're also going to vinyl wrap his light pods there on the front of this bumper. We're going to vinyl wrap those yellow. Yellow is a good accent color to have, especially off-roading. It kind of highlights shades and shadows, rocks and other obstacles a little better. Not to mention yellow fog lights. And if you guys want to pick any of this stuff up, vinyl wrap, Plasti Dip, the top coat protection, which is super crucial. We'll throw all of it in the description below. Alright, so step one is obviously you're going to want to have these clean of all brake dust and anything else that can linger on your rims. So yeah, ideally you'll wash your wheels like the day before and let all the water evaporate and dry before you do this part. So anyway, start with clean rim. Step two is tire shine. If you spray your tires with tire shine, like the overspray will not stick to the tire because you got tire shine on there. Now we're gonna go back with our rubbing alcohol and some microfibers and get the overspray off the rim so the dip does adhere to the actual rim. So just a couple of useful tips and things to know before you do this is if you're gonna get your tires changed, as in your rims are gonna get their tires unmounted and then mounted with new ones, that can damage your dip. I've had rims in the past where the technicians were my buddies and they said that they excessively lube the rim before they put it through the machine to do that, and my dip turned out just fine. It didn't peel up at all. But then I've had other times where it completely tore all the way around. So it's just something to know. Again, for like 20 bucks, 30 bucks, it's not a big deal because you can probably just re-dip them. Prepare the badges. All you want to do is same thing, clean up, microfiber, rubbing alcohol, and you're just going to want to hit an inch or so around the badge, and then the badge itself too. Alright, so once that's done, we're gonna get some plastic here. 3-foot sections will do for the length. If you have a drum, rotor, doesn't matter. You're just gonna want to crumple that plastic up like I did and just fish it through one of the spokes and then get it all the way back there and then unfold it around the rim, or sorry, the rotor. Yeah, so for the badging, just like we talked about, you're going to want to mask this off, like a ½ inch away, 1/4 inch, doesn't really matter. You can just peel the dip off the panel later, so. Alright, so once you're all masked off, cleaned up, and ready to go, a couple of pointers. If it's below 60, where I live, it's mostly below 60. So if you're gonna be dipping in colder weather, this is something I haven't seen anyone else recommend, but definitely get some really, really hot water and just soak these in there for 5-10 minutes. It'll help the molecules in here atomize better, which gives you a better spray fan. Okay, so when you're doing this, you're gonna wanna do something that's called a 50-50 overlap. So your fan that comes out of here, let's just say, depending on how far away you hold it, is like this big. So you're spraying, you spray like that, right? So what you're gonna wanna do is your first pass, you wanna be, like that. And your second pass, you want 50% of your next pass to be on top of your last pass. So what I mean by that is, I'll show you guys real quick. So you see how my first pass is like here, and then my second pass, 50% of it was on top of the first pass. And that right there happened because my finger was over the can like that, and then it accumulated on my finger and dripped. So try and avoid that. So as you can see here, the first coat's gonna go on light. The first coat is going to be the most prone to running because there's no product built up on the surface you're dipping. So that's why you want to keep the first coat light. And then all the coats after this, now that they're spraying onto a coat of Plasti Dip, will stick a lot better. And then because of that, the coats after the first coat are much thicker. So for doing your rims, just divide it up into manageable sections. So I have 5 spokes, so I'll divide it up into 5. I'm going to do the outer surface of the first one, and then I'm going to do all the surface area in between the next one, and then work on the next spoke and just work my way around really methodically, you know, no rush, just take your time. And then you can see what I'm doing here. I'm kind of like doing the spokes, but then I'm stopping around the center cap area, and that's going to be my last section that I'll do at the very end, just to make things simpler. So I'm dividing these rims up into 6 working sections, and then all I have to do is, you know, each section, and that's that. So yeah, as you can see, I like to do a layer that's 50% on the rim, 50% on the tire, just like that, and that builds up a layer on the tire so that you actually have something to grab when you go back to peel off the overspray on your tire. If you build it up nice and thick, then it comes off super easy. So So as far as distance from your spraying surface, the closer you hold it to the surface you're painting, the quicker you need to move to avoid runs. I like to hold it pretty close, maybe 5-ish inches away, and then that way I go pretty quick. You can hold it further back, but I recommend doing the 6 to 7 range. Just keep the can moving. You never want to be spraying and holding it in a stationary spot. So when you start spraying, kind of like have the can moving and then trigger it and like spray, but like, you know, just keep the can moving. That way you won't build up too much product on one exact area. It's like these badges are ready for coat 2. So this one we're gonna go for full coverage, and I don't know what the Plasti Dip guys call it exactly, but what you're trying to do is have the finish kind of have like a wet uniformed look, and I'll show you what that means. The wet uniformed look will dry with no texture. It'll be very, very, very smooth. If you don't have enough product on it, that's when you get an orange peely texture that's not ideal, and a lot of people don't like Plasti Dip because they get that result. But to avoid it, all you want to do is make sure you have enough product on there to fully uniform it and give it that glassed out or wet look. And then that way the self-level that this stuff has in it kicks in and it levels off nice and evenly, and then you have no texture and it's a much better finish. There is a sweet spot though, you know, too much Plasti Dip and you're gonna get runs, okay? So there's a balance there, and I'm gonna try and show you what I mean. So this right here, that's pretty much like full coverage. It's like shiny. Like if you look closely, you can see my reflection of my finger. And then this up here, the overspray from the previous one, is not full coverage. Again, first coat, don't want to do this on the first coat because that will be prone to running because there's no product built up. So that is a good example of like not full coverage. You can really see the texture in it. The reflection isn't as clear as it is down here, you know, stuff like that. So when I do this, I'm gonna have that amount of product going on. So as you can see, you can like see my reflection. It's properly black. And again, to achieve that wet look, you saw how fast I was moving the can. It's fairly slow. Let's try again down here. Like I said, this has self-level built in, so just let it do its thing. We'll come back before we do the next coat and I'll show you what it means and what it looks like when it's dry. So yeah, we came back here, and just like we said, I mean, if you really get close on that, you can see You can see how it dried. Like, that's very uniform and there's no texture in that. That looks like real paint, and that's what you want. So that wet, uniform, the glassed out look, whatever you want to call it, that we demonstrated down here, that's what you want to do on all the products you plasti dip. That's the kind of finish you're going for. We're going to put another coat on it. Yeah, so now that the first coat's on and dried, just like we talked about the badges, the second coat, you're gonna wanna go for full coverage, like that wet, glassed out look. So you're gonna see me when I'm doing this, I'm just gonna be moving the can a little bit slower just to get enough product on the tires so it self-levels. And again, I like to start every coat with a 50% overlap on the tire. About 5 layers deep on the black base coats. Gonna top it off with some satin. I find that the satin and the gloss, they're more prone to dripping. You might need to mix up how fast and how far away you hold the gloss or the satinizer. So maybe practice, if you're not comfortable, just practice on some of your mask off area, but yeah. So, same idea applies, you know, 50-50 overlap. You're gonna want that to gloss or a wet look, a wet out look. Like, you can see my reflection pretty clearly, so that's what you're after. And this also has self-leveler in it, just like the other stuff. So, you know, just let it do its thing. So when the final coat has dried completely, that's when I'd recommend going back like I'm doing here and peeling off your masking tape and peeling off the overspray on the car if you're doing your badges. If you don't wait for this to fully dry, it will pretty much rip or tear right at the seam between the masking tape and the body panel. So if that's something that interests you, that's just a method you can do. I personally like to let it fully dry on the masking tape and the panel and the badge. And then I just pull the masking tape and the overspray on the panel all together. You can see I could have done a little better masking. You can definitely see a little bit of overspray by the Sahara badge up there. Not a big deal. I'd get a dry microfiber is what I ended up doing, and you can just like literally rub it off and it totally just comes right out. Or you can use your finger. But yeah, that's the beauty of Plasti Dip, is it's very low risk. You know, if you fuck up, mess up, whatever, you can just peel it off. This is called Dip Coat. I guess this is a new formula, a new branding, but back when I used to buy it, it was called Dip Top Coat. And this, if you're doing any plasti dipping, you gotta get this stuff from, DipYourCar.com. Again, links in the description. For all you car guys out there that understand the layers of automotive paint, think of this as your gloss coat, the top coat. The gloss is kind of what protects it, keeps it from getting scratched or permanent damage to the point where you'd have to touch it up. So can't recommend this enough. This will help your dip last a long time, a lot longer than it would without it. I've actually been dipping wheels and badges and cars long before this even came out. So when this came out, I was super stoked to get it. So yeah, highly recommend it. So yeah, after you've let the final coat dry a decent amount, I'd say about an hour's plenty. Dip top coat, microfiber, and from what I've been told, you want to spray it onto the microfiber and then wipe it on. You don't want to spray this directly on the wheels. And apparently if it's streaking, that means you're applying too much. So I guess this goes on sparingly. And yeah, you can build this stuff up just like clear coat. So the more coats of this stuff you do, the better. Yeah, just like I said, when you spray the tire every coat, it makes this part super easy to get off the tire. So